Okay, sorry about this abrupt break. I realized at the last second, that I was nearing 15 minutes. So now I can continue with what I was talking about. Other than the Wind Waker run, there was Hoover's 3-heart run of Ocarina of Time, which he actually completed it all the way through. Takes balls to do that. Now, I know that he did quite a bit of, beginner's mistakes. He got lost in the Fire and Shadow Temples, both of which are rather linear in layout, but nonetheless, I may know the game inside and out, but I'm not crazy enough to attempt a 3-heart run. And he did it, and he finished it all the way through. Even though, whenever you get hit by Ganondorf or Ganon, it's a one-hit KO at only 3 hearts. And somehow, he persevered and managed to do it. Now, I don't know if fairies are allowed in, typical 3-heart runs, but he used fairies. I think he only had 2 bottles, though, I believe. But, yeah, it still was extremely difficult, and mad props for him for being able to pull that off. And for those of you wondering why he didn't just use Nehru's Love for Ganondorf and Ganon, well, it's because, especially when you don't have any blue or green potions, magic is an extremely short supply, and you need it to be able to fire off those light arrows. So there's not only is there no magic to waste on Nehru's Love, but on top of that, from what I understand, I never tried it myself actually, but apparently Nehru's Love does not work at all against Ganondorf and Ganon. So that makes things even harder. And as I said before, mad props to Hoover for managing to do it all the way to the end. The fun thing is that Rob did another run of Ocarina of Time as an encore presentation. It was an any percent run, and Hoover still managed to finish the game a lot faster. Then again, Rob had the excuse of almost dying to drinking a shot of ghost pepper sauce, which is something I never do. I'll see if I can try to find the footage of Rob actually drinking the ghost pepper sauce, but you saw his face turning red almost immediately, and it was like, oh my god, he's gonna be sick. He's so gonna be sick. So given the circumstances, he did pretty well, because if I were to drink a shot of hot sauce based on the 3rd strongest pepper in the world, I would probably be in no state to play video games for a couple days. Now, what else did we have? Oh yeah, I remember. This is something you may have missed, but it was, sort of a collective freak-out when Tyler was playing Wind Waker and he got to the Fairy Queen. It was like everyone in the chat realized at the same time, like, we weren't really aware of it, but when we saw the footage, it was like, oh my god, the Fairy Queen totally looks like Fi. And personally, I've played through Skyward Sword, and I never really made the connection. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because the Fairy Queen was that much of a minor character. But if you put them both side by side, they really resemble each other. That was pretty cool. And speaking of awesome chat moments, well, this one was slightly less awesome, but at some point, you know how deadpan Phil can be sometimes. He says something that's outright not true, but he's saying it like it's an everyday fact. And at one point, someone was asking where Chugga was, because we can't get through 5 minutes of a marathon without a mention of Chugga Conroy in the chat. Oops. But yeah, at some point Phil tried to troll the guy, and he said that Chugga Conroy was supposed to make an appearance, but only if no one mentioned him. So just because that one guy talked about him, he wasn't gonna show up. So, yeah, it was supposed to be a pretty funny joke, except it totally backfired because afterwards that guy could only talk about that. He was like, "Oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? I'm sorry. Can you tell Chugga I'm sorry if you ever see him, please?" It was like, you know, never joke around with Chugga zombies because they are going to take it way too seriously. And speaking of high-profile Let's Players, as is now a tradition, there were a few auctions. I believe one of them was a Master Sword replica along with a Hylian Shield replica. And, yeah, as are most auctions involving TSG, it was a two-way affair. Proton John ended up winning the whole thing for, I believe, $700. One can only wonder where he got that kind of cash, even though, you know, I guess Nintendo Capri Sun one-upped him somewhat because he donated a full $1,000 near the beginning of the marathon, and for a while the Chugga spam completely stopped and was replaced by Nintendo Capri Sun spam. Yeah, it takes a lot to stop Chugga spam in a TSG chat, but I guess Nintendo Capri Sun was one of the few people who could actually manage to do it from the start. And of course, how could one forget that epic ending where the stream would crash like every 15 seconds? And they were coming up on the end of Skyward Sword, and the stream started crashing on a more and more regular basis. I think we actually ended up missing the fight against Demise because of that. And, you know, and after that you had each person involved in the marathon saying their goodbyes, and every time someone said goodbye afterwards, the stream went down and they had to put it back up over and over and over again. Longest ending ever. But yeah, I believe it was caused by at least I'm going to take Brit's word for it. What happened was that XSplit, which they use to stream their marathons, they had an update on Thursday, the day before the marathon started, and it was a really unstable update that caused the stream to crash every now and then, and I guess this is one of the reasons why Tyler's speedrun of Wind Waker won't end up being homologated, even though, you know, he said that he didn't really care about that too much. And one last thing, by the way. When we reached 15,000, I made a proposal that if we reached $20,000 by the time donations closed down, I would reveal the LP that I would do after Banjo-Kazooie. Right now we're at 19,700, so we're missing only $300. I believe you have until tomorrow to donate, but I just want to say, in case you're interested, that offer is still on the table. Just because the marathon is over doesn't mean I'm going to back off on it. If somehow we reach $20,000 before donations are closed, I will still reveal my next LP. And for those of you who feel like arguing, you know, oh, but it's only $300, why don't you just reveal it? Nope, I gave my word. 20,000 is 20,000, not 19,700, not even 19,999. We need that too at the start of the amount. Otherwise, it's not happening. And, oh yeah, this room, it's like a spiral-shaped room where you gotta go all around the place and up and not necessarily down, but there are dead ends. Lots of dead ends with items in them. I guess that's why I'm here, to get these items, so that next time I come back to this area, I'm just going to be able to blaze through it on my way to Red. I'm not saying that I'm going to be fighting every wild Pokemon on my way to Red, because I'm probably still going to be underleveled for that fight, and I'm going to need to be in peak condition if I want to be able to win that one. But yeah, one thing that I learned before the marathon, which involves Skyward Sword. For those of you who have not yet beaten Skyward Sword, there is a game-breaking glitch in the game that will prevent you from progressing any further, and it's gonna force you to start your game all over. And just to make things even worse, it's near the end of the game, so I'm warning you, if you haven't beaten Skyward Sword yet, the glitch involves, near the end of the game you're supposed to get 3 parts of the Song of the Hero from each of the elemental dragons. If you go to the Lanayru province and get the Thunder Dragons part of the song first, if you speak to a certain NPC immediately after that, you will screw yourself out of the rest of the song, and you will not be able to finish the game. So, there are 2 ways around this. One of them is to simply keep the Thunder Dragons part of the song for last. That way, the glitch will not be triggered. And there is also a second way. I hear that Nintendo is making a patch in order to circumvent that glitch. Now, I don't know exactly how it's supposed to work, but apparently it's going to be able to make it so even if you talk to that NPC at the precise point in time that triggers the glitch, you will be able to continue on with the game nonetheless. Now, I could move on to, wonder how that kind of glitch even works. How does it make its way into the game in the first place? It's the same thing as that weird Pursuit plus Sandstream glitch from Pokémon Platinum, but yeah, apparently they're making a patch, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I think we already talked about this a few months ago. You know, the whole thing about Meta Knight being banned from Brawl because Brawl is so unbalanced. Now I know Super Smash Bros. Isn't meant as a high-end competitive fighter. It's more like it's to fighting games what Mario Kart is to racing games. It's not really meant to be serious business, but somehow it does. But nonetheless, I think we all came to the conclusion that while the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were capable of supporting game patches, the Wii couldn't. So, when I heard that they were making a patch for this Skyward Sword glitch, I was wondering, wasn't that supposed to be impossible on the Wii? But then again, I suppose, and it makes sense too, I'm not criticizing Nintendo because of that, but I suppose a game-breaking glitch in one of the Wii's biggest and most popular game is a bit more important than fixing balance issues in Super Smash Bros. Brawl that, all things considered, are pretty minor. I don't think your average Brawl player will really care that Meta Knight is so broken. I certainly don't. My Meta Knight sucks ass! And even with that in mind, 1 versus 1 no items is only one style of play that's supported by the game. How does Meta Knight fare in a 4-way free-for-all with items on? I honestly don't know, because as far as I know, there's no competitive metagame for that. Only 1 versus 1 no items. So I suppose this is a reason why they don't really bother balancing Brawl too much, because they know that there are as many play styles and rule sets as there are players. Okay, now, I believe, we are now outdoors, which means I'm going to send Tyranitar in the lead. Reason for that is because when you get outdoors in snowy areas like this, it's actually hailing, and this includes the battle against Red, by the way. It's not hailing just yet? Oh, I guess it's not hailing just yet. It only hails at the top of the mountain during the fight against Red. This is why I was putting Tyranitar in the lead, because I could either go with Lapras to be immune to hail, or use Tyranitar's Sandstream to circumvent it completely. Now, I think it's going to be as good a time as any to finish this little double program. So next time on Pokemon Soul Silver, we're coming up on the peak of Mount Silver, so we're going to get there. Not before we check out if there's an item there. It just looks way too suspicious. Ha! Thought so. So, see you next time.